Oh, I'm rolling. Hey, everybody. It's Paul back again. Karis Pen Co., Karis Customs. Here to go over a new product. So something we've been working on for a little over a year now, in terms of developing, sitting down and talking through some things. So it's a pen holder. It's not a pen. It's a pen accessory. You can see kind of in front of me some of the different versions of it. It's a pen holder though, similar to our cube, which I don't have with me, but we'll kind of walk through some of the differences and similarities. So basically what we sat down and kind of had discussed in some meetings was a way to get a pen holder that was a little bit less chunky and heavy and would potentially be more cost effective. We could price it a little bit more competitively and still retain a lot of the function that the cube has. Like, a lot of people love the cube. It's big, it's bulky, it holds 9 pens. It looks very sturdy and looks cool on the desk and just does what it's supposed to do really well. Mike Dudek, who we collaborated with on that, did a great job of initially designing his version of it, and then we taking it into aluminum and brass, really kind of did the same thing. So, but that piece, the cube, the aluminum version of that is like 2.5 pounds. So it's considerably heavy, and it's costly. It costs a decent amount of money to make, not just in sourcing the material, but in machining time. And then we have 9 Delrin inserts for each cube. So all those are machined. And so it does kind of, I don't want to say it's limited, but it's definitely, there's a reason that it's $95. There's a lot that goes into it. It's big. And we've been asked by a lot of you if we had plans to kind of make something that was a little bit more pocketbook friendly, but still did a really good job of holding a decent amount of pens, our pens or somebody else's pens. So we kind of kicked that around for a long time. It was something that we frequently would come back to the drawing board and look at, like, how can we do this? What about this idea? What about making it out of just pieces of aluminum or brass that were, that are affixed together with fasteners, that we can machine or water jet. We looked at a bunch of different things, and excuse me. And about a year ago, we really kind of narrowed it down, and Bill and I sat down and kind of talked through a process of, hey, what if we did this? What if we used a piece of aluminum that was considerably smaller than the cube, but that still had enough mass to sit and hold pens, but that would bring down the cost of the material itself, that was in 2 pieces, which would allow us to use, the smaller part would allow us to use some things like brass and copper, and potentially, if this is a big hit, we could, you could potentially see some other materials that we could get, whether it's plastics or stabilized wood. We kind of went through the entire thing with this design. And, excuse me. And so the idea was that it would not have any other machine. It would just have the 2 machined parts they'd both be milled, pretty easy for us to make. And then we would source the internals that held the pins with the foam manufacturing company that we use with a lot of our stuff, that you've seen now. So we started using foam really in the pen capsules for the Decograph. We use both closed cell foam, neoprene, and then also some open cell foam. And we've used different versions of foam for other boxes that we ship pens in, but then we also use some stuff in the command modules, the KMods. So we knew it was possible for us to do that type of thing with this, and that's kind of where we sat down and went from there. So what we landed on are the two. There's two main versions of this product that we're releasing. There's a 4-pen holder and an 8-pen holder, and we had a whole bunch of different ideas with different names and stuff like that, and we kind of landed on the 4K and the 8K. So it's not a race or anything, but it's just kind of the other names that we had just didn't really fit, and kind of finding something that works that isn't already being used for not necessarily something similar, but just didn't feel contrived. Our use of the K in other of our pens and stuff, it's just simple. It allows us to do some branding and things for these. So basically, these are the two that we landed on. So the 4K obviously holds 4 pins. 8K, same thing, holds 8 pins. They're based off of, basically we buy, I think it's 2.5 inch extruded bars, 2.5 by 2.5, real long bars. But that works well for this because it's a lot less material than the cubes. The cubes are 4 inch, 4.5 by 4.5 when we really, when we start with those. So we're starting with a much smaller amount of material, which brings down the cost significantly in the aluminum. Similarly, it brings down the cost in the brass and copper quite a bit. So we're able to offer some competitive pricing. But then we've basically milled out the pocket in here, and then what we use is we basically use an open cell kind of soft foam, similar to what we use in all of our other packaging on the bottom. That goes in the bottom to protect the pen. So if you were to drop it, it's not going to deform the tip of your pen or potentially chip a resin pen. And then we have 2 pieces of closed cell neoprene foam that go in to there, and then the top is affixed with some bolts. You can see on this one, basically some fasteners. So they look very similar to what we use for the fastening of the ink clips and some of the other things. We get a lot of comments about that look specifically, so we kind of added it to this to replicate that style somewhat. And then, so it's not a lot of different pieces. It's literally just 2 machine pieces and then the foam. So, but it does its job really well. The foam holds the pens, even the smaller pens. They move a little bit in the foam, but they're protected really well. The holes are machined wide enough so that your pen's not, if it's in here, it's not ever hitting that lip. It's always on the foam. You won't have to worry about it scratching or anything like that. So it does in our testing and what we thought we were going to come up with, we thought it was going to do a really good job of protecting the pens and keeping them, nice and neat on your desk. So, like I said, the cube is, starts at about $95 to $100 and goes up from there depending on the different anodized techniques that we use on them. And then with this offering, we were able to shave a considerable amount off of that cost. So the goal was to try to come down, to around the $50 mark for the 4K, and then, somewhere between around $70 for the 8K. The different versions of these. So your aluminum and aluminum version of the 4K is going to be $55. And then the version with the aluminum base and the brass lid is going to be $85. And then the aluminum version with the copper lid, which is this version where it's an aluminum base and the copper lid, that's $100. And then for the 8K, it starts in all aluminum at $75. The aluminum with the brass lid is $120. And then the aluminum with the copper lid is $140. So you're getting the nice, the accents, the brass and copper accents for not a lot more money. Our brass cubes, now it is solid brass, so there's got to take into context. We're not going to be making these out of right now. We don't have any plans on making these out of solid brass and copper. But the solid brass cube is $375. So this gives you some of that same accent. It looks really cool, you know, with this, but it's not a lot more money. But you're getting an 8-pen holder for $75 as opposed to $95 or $100 for the cube. We thought this would really kind of complement our pens. And you're looking at a relatively small format. So the dimensions on the 4K are just under 2.5 inches in width and depth, and then the height is 2.3 inches. With the bumpers, it's almost square. So with the, if you take into account the feet, the rubber bumpers that we place on these, similar to the ones, they're the exact same ones we use for the cubes, then this is about a square if you take into that. It's really 2.45 inches square. And then this one is same depth. It's the width is 4.15 inches, and then 2.3 inches high. So it's a little bit smaller. It doesn't sit as high as the cube does, obviously. But the pens still do go in nice and deep. It holds it in there, you know, firm. It's not going to go anywhere. They weigh anywhere from, you know, like I think this one is about 9 ounces for the all aluminum one, all the way up to just over a pound for the 8K with the copper top. This one actually, they're real similar in weight, the copper and the brass. They're just over a pound for those versions. But these, you know, 9 ounces up to a pound. So it's considerably less weight than the cube. Still a decent sized object. You know, it's gonna look nice on the desk. It holds a decent amount of pens. You know, if you only got a couple pens that you want to keep on your desk, you know, the 4K is great. 8Ks, you know, obviously does a really good job. We debated on doing, you know, a 6-1 as a 6 pen holder, but we really figured that these two offerings would kind of be better served. There's only so much you can do until you kind of like you're kind of stepping over your own toes, and so we wanted to be as diversified as possible, but still offer something that was held close to the amount that the cube did, but wasn't, you know, was under the $100 mark, because the cube's right around $100, whereas this is $75 starting out, so $25 cheaper, and then this one's $55 for the aluminum, but what it holds for. So we felt like the cost, the price, and the function kind of really fit in there. So initially so you'll be able to mix and match your color combinations in terms of your base and your lid, color materials. So we have 3 different anodized bases. This is the base. They are the red, and then a gray and a black. And then the lids are initially available in those 3 as well, red, gray, and black, and also the brass and copper versions. And so you can mix and match, and obviously these are considered premium upgrades, you add that, it does add the cost. Now, one thing that I will say is if you do pick the same color base and top, the colors won't exactly match. They're real close, especially these, this first batch of all the colors that we got. The bases and the tops are real close in shade, which I was surprised about, because a lot of times that's not the case. A lot of times we get pens that are mismatched in colors, even when we send them out at the same time, they come back. But these are really darn close in terms of the colors that you're getting. So that's really awesome. So if you do want to order a single color, I advise you to do that now, with the red and with the gray. Now the black's almost always going to be really close. There's not a lot of variance in the black that we see. But just so you're aware, in the future, you know, we might have some color that don't really match that well. So, and we may in the future offer some other colors, but right now we just wanted to do, you know, 3 colors that were relatively popular. And we did some test batches. We actually tested 6 colors initially when we sent out some test pieces. We did a blue and a violet and olive, and I forget the other color. There was 5 or 6 colors. And these are the 3 that we landed on initially. So we do have a decent amount of each color in both the 4K and the 8K. So they're hopefully not gonna, I mean, for you guys, they're not gonna sell out like right away, but you know, the initial batch was what we would consider a large batch in terms of pen holder size batches. If we were to compare it to a cube run, this would be considered a pretty big batch of each one. So we have a decent amount on hand right now. Like I said, we're aiming for, by the time this video goes up, they'll be live on the website. So you'll be able to click, I'm gonna put some links in the description. You'll be able to click the links, go straight to the store and see the images of each individual. While I don't have every single combination here, the images on the website will have the different combinations, all the different combinations that you can currently pick from in terms of the base and the lid. So you'll be able to see what they look like. Some of them will have pins in them. Some of the images will just be the 4K and 8K by itself. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and post them in the comments below, or you can always email us. But this is, like I said, this has been something that we've really been looking at releasing for quite some time. We did do the single pen holder with the K-Mods. Really, that was a pretty unique release. It was designed initially around the Apollo 11 anniversary, and so which was why we had that release. We had extras that we machined just because it was efficient for us to machine more and just kind of sell them on the side. But that was never really designed as a permanent pen holder option. Those will actually go away once we're sold through the options that we have. The K-Mods will be phased out, and we'll discontinue that product, at least for the time being. We won't make production runs of them any longer. We might make small batch runs that we do in specific colors for special releases, but that item will be going away. We'll go off the website once they're sold through. And these 2 pen holders with the Cube collaboration with Dudek will be the 3 main pen holders that we have for the foreseeable future. And this one's not a collaboration with anybody. This is, you know, kind of a design that I came up with in conjunction with Dan, and then when Dan left, Bill and I sat down to kind of flesh out the actual what we were going to do, because a lot of it is I have an idea inside my head, or you know, somebody else has an idea, and then we're kind of constrained by what Bill can do and how much, you know, the cost, the final price that we want to kind of land on, what we want to get close to, dictates, you know, different things that we can do with it. So this is a relatively, you know, a decent product in terms of we came really close to where we wanted to be in terms of the final product looking the way that we wanted it to look, the price being that price point that we wanted to land on, and we really feel like it's going to be an awesome product. So we hope you guys receive it as well as we think you will. It looks great. It functions just like it should. It's, you know, I don't have anything. There isn't anything different that I would do to this, except for in the future, I'd like to see some different top options. Hopefully we can get to that. If this, you know, product does really well, that's what we're shooting for, is to kind of in the future be able to add some different tops and some different lids that will feature some different materials, which will be super, super cool. So, but for now, these are the 2 different versions of the 8K and the 4K, and the different color and material combinations. Like I said, you can comment below in the description, or you can always send us a message and we'll get back to you about these. But chances are y'all have already, if you go to our site frequently, you'll have seen these live by the time this video goes up, and maybe you'll have already emailed us. But we're really looking forward to getting these in your hands and seeing them on your desk in your Instagram posts, and follow up and then getting some feedback on them. But like I said, guys, the new 4K and 8K pen holders are here, and they're awesome. It's a great addition to your desk, or your friend's desk or countertop or what have you. Wherever you keep your pens, these will come in handy. And they're not just good for our pens. They work for pretty much any pen that are out there. It's, the ink fits in there real snug. So you've got a lot of, and the foam itself is expandable. So you can push some of my larger pens that are bigger, that are wider in diameter, then the ink will actually go in there. It's not gonna damage the pen since the foam does expand some. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe to the video, and we will catch up with you next time.